Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as Ivy Winter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today we're going to talk about a kind of hot topic that people often discuss, and that's this idea that there is no low season at Disney World anymore. Meaning there is no season where you're walking onto rides and crowds are low. And that's kind of, those days are behind us. I kind of agree with this. This is something that I talk about a lot in some of my past videos, and I really wanted to delve into why. Why is it that it seems that Disney is crowded all the freaking time now, and if you do have a low season day, it's kind of random, and they aren't really that common. Not months long like it used to be. So I was doing some research in this and some of my own thinking, and I've narrowed it down. I'd really like to know if you guys agree or disagree on these. The first one is Disney has now given an incentive to go even during off-season times because there are always special events. You will notice that more and more pop up every year. Epcot now has 4 festivals that run most times of the year. You have multiple marathons both in the spring and in the fall. You've got these Disney after hours events that are now being turned into very specific special events, as we're seeing with them do these villain after hours events that are happening in the summer. They've got the one for the 30th anniversary of Hollywood Studios. They're always celebrating anniversaries of the parks no matter how big or small. They're just giving people a lot of reason to go on off season. January was always considered an off month for years, but now you've got things like Festival of the Arts and the marathons and a lot of like schools coming and competing in different sports things, and like they just are giving people more and more reason to go 365 days a year. The second reason is our economy has actually been fairly strong the past few years, and because of that, people are willing to spend the money on vacations like this. So our last recession was around 2008, 2009. And since then, since we bounced back from the recession, the number of people going to Disney World has just absolutely soared. In fact, they say that it's around 3 million annual visitors to Magic Kingdom alone, which is way higher than it was 10 years ago. Now, not only do we have more people going now because, you know, the economy is stronger, but we actually have less park hours. So believe it or not, during the recession, even though there was less people overall going to the parks, there were actually longer park hours. Like in general, operating hours were just longer. You know, evening magic hours were 3 hours no matter what. So you had less crowds and just more time to be in the parks. But what's really interesting is despite there being less crowds during the recession, Disney actually was pretty level the entire time of the recession. So comparatively, it was less people, but they kept it steady for the entire year. And that was an interesting thing to investors who started to see the parks as recession proof. Basically, even though people were not making quite as much money, the stock market was crashing, some people were losing jobs, they were still finding a way to go to Disney. For whatever the reason, it could have been that it was still an annual trip that was important to them and they didn't want to lose that sense of normalcy. Maybe it was escaping the fact that we're in a recession, but for whatever the reason was, their attendance was completely flat for the entire year, which is actually pretty amazing. So given that, there was only room for them to go up from there. And then the last reason actually is something that Len Testa, who runs Touring Plans, who's like probably the biggest site that has data for crowd calendars, something that he brought up not too long ago. I want to say it was earlier this year or maybe even last year, where he discussed the idea of Disney manipulating their ride capacity. And this isn't just a theory, it's actually been proven that this has happened over time. So what does that mean? What am I talking about? So there are 2 different things when you're thinking of ride capacity. There is THRC, which means theoretical hourly ride capacity. That's saying theoretically, the Haunted Mansion could have X amount of thousands of people come through every hour. Then there is OHRC, which is the thing that really matters, which is operational hourly ride capacity, which is what they actually put through every day. So while theoretical might be a high number and sound nice, it rarely is ever the number that they're actually pushing through the ride. The operational hourly ride capacity is who is actually going through at this moment right now how many people per hour in Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, any ride, you name it. The reason THRC is just theoretical is nothing can operate 100% at capacity for a variety of reasons. People being people, the amount of people in line, rides breaking down, you know, there's a lot of reasons why you just never hit that number. It's not really plausible. So naturally, the actual operational hourly ride capacity is lower. It's not going to be 100%. But Disney also manipulates that, and they have been, especially over the past 5 years, there's been a lot of look into the numbers, and they have been purposely decreasing the amount of people that are going through each ride, which in turn would be increasing ride waits, right? So that is also why it feels quite crowded at times, even when you're like, man, this is supposed to be a slow time of year, but for some reason Space Mountain is 60 minutes. Part of the reason that they do this, it's not to say like, it's not for them to necessarily spread out, you know, crowds across the year. A lot of people have these like sort of theories about that, but honestly, it's operational costs. We've seen it already before. Disney is doing a lot of things to cut costs and cut the amount of people that they need working per day. That is a whole other conversation about how I feel about that, but you know, we see it with them doing these automated cameras now for a lot of the meet and greets. They are trying to find ways to cut costs in operation. And so if you have less people going through a ride, that means less cost of operation of the ride, less cast members needed to man the ride. You see where I'm going with this? So it ends up making the ride waits longer, even at times where, I mean, there'd be times like I'm walking through the park and I'm like, it feels empty, or it feels bearable, and yet every single mountain is over an hour. Why? And that's a big reason why. So those are a few reasons why I think that it feels like there is no low season anymore. It's all of the offerings that Disney gives all year round. It's the economy doing well and people feeling confident in spending their money. And it is Disney actually manipulating ride operations so you're actually feeling it a bit more as a guest. If there's another reason that you've thought of why you feel like there really isn't a down season or a low season anymore, please let me know in the comments below. I love talking about this kind of stuff, like the data and just the reasons behind why certain things are what they are is so fascinating to me. So I would love to be a part of that conversation. If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe. I make videos every single week. I'm going to Disney very soon, so I will have lots from there, both vlogs and some other kinds of content that I want to make while I'm in the parks. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of the day. Bye.